Hello, Nyy'zai of planet Earth. My name is Nyy'zai. I'm going to be your guide to the vast and magical world that is the Nyy'zai Mojo. And so you'll be seeing a lot of me throughout the rest of the foundational series for Nyy'zai Temple. This episode in particular is going to be about pod powers for the Nyy'zai. When coming at trying to understand yourself, it's good to think of yourself in terms of a character in a role-playing game where you have a character sheet which has stats, abilities, skills, then you gain experience points and you level up and you add more abilities and skill sets. This is a very useful way to understand yourself. So it's good if you have some familiarity in RPGs already, but if not, that's fine because I'll explain to you the concepts. In most RPGs, they have different species that you can play as. You can make a character be kind of different races, where you have like humans, and then you have dwarves, and then you have elves. And generally speaking, in most of the RPG systems, humans act as a baseline, where they're kind of just like normal. And you have elves that are going to be like maybe more magical and faster than humans. And you have dwarves that are like more stout and stronger than humans or whatever. Now the thing is, in reality, there actually is no baseline for humans. Humans are actually not the baseline because, you know, that's assuming humans are kind of just interchangeable. They're just normal. And there really is no normalcy in this sense. Humans are all 16 mojos, meaning these are different 16 specialists. These are different kinds of creatures. So there is no actual baseline human. And the Nyy'zai have special gifts that make the Nyy'zai a unique creature among humans. So in order to understand what humans are, you're going to be comparing and contrasting different mojos among humans, where you stand as a Nyy'zai compared to the 15 other mojos. The Nyy'zai is a very complex ship to fly, but the rewards that you're going to get from knowing how to fly it are extensive and awesome and nearly limitless. But in order to have access to all of these cool powers, you're going to need to know how to fly your ship. So pay close attention. Okay, so we already introduced you to character sheet, different species / races in an RPG. Okay, so if we're playing kind of a standard style RPG, then that brings us to classes. Humans have what you kind of think of as classes that would go with the different quadrants, where we have the fighter, or pilot as we call it, the wizard, or as we would call it, hunter, the rogue, or gatherer, and cleric, priest, or tower. Now in some RPGs they have a certain concept called the multi-class character, whereas a character does not just have to be one class that they level up as, they could be multiple classes. Like for example, 4 classes that all level up kind of at different ratios. Well, that's what humans are. Your mojo is a multi-class character. All mojos have 4 character classes that are in different hierarchical rankings. So you as a Nyy'zai, you are a possibility gatherer, a logic tower, a PassionPilot, and a fact hunter. So let's introduce you to these characters. We're going to begin talking about your pod powers. Nyi is your first ranked or source power. Nyi is a gatherer power, so as a Nyy'zai, you are primarily energized by the gathering of possibilities. Nyi is color-coded as purple, so you're going to be seeing a lot of purple in this video, as well as other videos that have to do with Nyi mojos or Nyi in general. The energy infusion that you get from Nyi is buoyancy of spirit. There are certain power flows that Nyi gives everyone in the general sense. But what needs to be understood is that these power flows are going to be unique for every mojo because it is dependent on what hierarchical rank it's in and what power it has a compound relationship with. So when we're talking about your Nyi, we're specifically talking about a Nyy'zai's Nyi. So it's going to be Nyi that is in the source ranking and Nyi that's in a compound relationship with Zai. So let's get to it. The powers that Nyi gives are Sixth Sense and Imminent Potentiality, Abstraction and Getting the Gist, Brainstorming and Idea Generation, Cross-Contextualizing and Idea Juggling, Optimism and Risk-Taking, Trend Tracking and Storm Chasing, Riffing and Improvisation, pattern surfing and bridge building, creative energy and contagious enthusiasm, playful imagination, and change initiation. The powers that Nyi gives also benefits the entire bubble as a whole that the Nyy'zai is in. So all of your party members in your adventuring party are also going to get bonuses from your Nyi. But different mojos will be getting higher bonuses depending on what mojo they are. So Nyi users are going to be getting augmentation bonuses to their Nyi, but Nyi mojos are going to be getting the most substantial augmentation bonuses. Nyi users are going to be getting inspirational bonuses to their Nyi from your Nyi, but the Nyi mojos are going to get the most substantial inspiration, and on top of all of them, it is the Nyy'zai that is going to be getting the most inspiration from your Nyi. You can think of Nyi as being like your superhero battery. It's your power that just keeps on giving, and it's not going to stop giving. It's just always going to be there, and it's always going to be giving you more and more gifts, more power, like an everlasting fountain of energy. So the source power is literally the source of a hero's heroic flow, and for you, that source power is Nyi. Now, a special thing to bring up about the Nyi's relationship in the S's index is that Nyi is very high up in the S's index, and that means the environment is not necessarily going to be able to readily recognize the existence of Nyi. This means it's going to be difficult to boot up in the environment, even though it's native to you and very strong. The upside is that when it's pulled off correctly, then you get a special modifier to it, a special out of frickin' nowhere multi-dimensional possibility emerging abstraction bonus, because it seamlessly, magically just boop pops into existence. And when pulled off right, that's really cool. As a part of the way Nyi works, it has something called permeability. And being permeable means basically allowing things to come into you. And this can seem very exposed, but the upside to all of that is this is how opportunities are made available. So, you actually have to allow them to come into you. And so it's this permeability that is what makes Nyi so powerful. Nyi is also associated with humor, so if you want to access your Nyi or stimulate it, then a good way to do that is to be around humor or humorous people, or by watching humorous content, taking in humorous media. All of this stuff helps activate your Nyi. So having Nyi high up also means that humor is going to be a native gift to you, and one that can actually help you out in life and many situations. Zai is your second ranked or tandem power. Zai is a tower power, so you're also going to be energized by keeping vital resources such as health and sense of equilibrium kept safe. The tandem character class of Zai is that of a logic tower. Zai is color-coded as steel, so in addition to the purple that you're seeing in the duotone that you're going to be seeing in this video as well as other Nyy'zai temple videos, is the silver color code of Zai. So that's something you're going to be seeing in these duotones, in these videos as well as other videos that are associated with Zai mojos or Zai in general. The energy infusion that you get from your Zai is going to be an unflappability of spirit. Zai gives you a lot of cool powers, but one thing to keep in mind is that the powers that it gives each mojo, the ones I'm going to list off, it gives up pretty much all mojos these powers in general, but the way these power flows work are going to be unique in flavor for all mojos, and this is dependent on what rank their Zai is in and what power it has a compound relationship with. So in your case, when we talk about your Zai, you should understand in the context that we are talking about tandem Zai, and it's Zai that is in a compound relationship with your source Nyi. So yeah, your Zai gives you the powers of clarity and lucidity, precision and accuracy, dispassion and purity, diagnostics and experimentation, principle understanding and customizing, situational logic and analysis, refining and sharpening, optimizing and perfecting, calibrating and rectifying, reactive theorizing and deductive reasoning. When you do your Zai, it is also going to affect those around you who are in your adventuring party. So much like the way your Ni does this, then when you do your Zai correctly, then it will emanate out from you in kind of an area of effect that will stack bonuses to all of your friends and cohorts in your adventuring party. So all Zai users in general are going to get an augmentation bonus, but specifically it is the Zai Mojos that are going to be getting the most substantial augmentation bonus. Then Z in general is going to be getting an inspiration bonus from your Zai, but it's the Z Mojos specifically that are going to be getting the most substantial bonuses from your Zai. Then on top of it all, it is the Nyy'zai that is going to be getting the strongest inspiration from your Zai as a Nyy'zai. Then when your powers of Zai combine with your Ni for a Nyy'zai, then that makes for an epic story for a purpose, one that needs to continue on. That's how the rest of your powers are going to come up to support that storyline, which is the storyline of a possibility gatherer logic tower. A special science and spirituality index note to bring up about Zai is that it is one of the scientific powers, but it's actually the highest scientific power. So when it's done correctly, then you get really awesome hardcore bonus for being badass. But its game can be very difficult to articulate due to its tacit nature. A special note to bring up about Zai is that it is tacit logic. And what that means is that the personal tactics that come from it are ones that are personal to just you, and that makes it something that can be very hard to express, and also hard to kind of explain in a procedural fashion, even though it could be kind of turned into that. And it's because you do it in kind of an all-at-once nature, and in order to kind of do it, you kind of just have to do it. You kind of just have to get into it. And so it can be kind of difficult to express in kind of just that procedural ein, zwei, drei kind of way. And it's something you kind of just have to get into, which is why this brings up the next special note about it, which is in the flow. It has a situational way of working where, like I said, you kind of just have to jump into it. You have to get in the flow of things to really understand how your game style, how your tactics have to be worked out or have to be calibrated. So you have to get in the flow of things to kind of understand how you're playing it. G is your third or offside power. G is a pilot power, and so you can pilot using values, but it's going to cost you energy to do so. The offside character class of the Nyy'zai is that of the PassionPilot. G is color-coded as red, but it's a modulation power, and so it doesn't really have the significance that Ni and Zai does for you as a Nyy'zai. So that's why in duotones like this, like the colors that you're seeing in this video right now, this is why you're mainly going to be seeing Ni and Zai. And then when we start talking about G, then you'll see, the word G come up in red, like G, but you're not going to be seeing it in the duotone usage because of the fact that it is modulation and doesn't have the mojo defining significance as your Ni and Zai does. The energy infusion that you will receive from using your G is impassioned empowerment. All mojos in a general sense get the power flows of G, but what needs to be understood is that the power flows for each mojo will be unique depending on what hierarchical ranking their G is in and what power that it shares a compound relationship. So in your case as a Nyy'zai, it is going to be offside G as well as G that is in a compound relationship with your Vi. So the power flows that G gives are sense of community and personal connection, social awareness and personal consideration, integrity and code of conduct, tribal relationships and cultural dynamics, interpersonal relationships and group dynamics, etiquette and diplomacy, team building and shepherding, rituals and collective values, charm and persuasion, human relationships and dynamics. Your G is offside G. That's something important to remember because we are now talking about modulation powers. It's a minor modulation. So this is power that's actually going to curb your native flow. So this is very different from your momentum powers. They are no longer gaining energy, but it is curbing your energy. And so this is something that's very important to understand, because we get into things like keening and overmodulation. So if your energy is not curbed correctly, then it could lead to things like overmodulation and stress lock, and you don't want any part of that. So G is a great power, but great powers must be used with great responsibility. If you can do that, if you can use your G with the backing of your modulation powers, if you can fetish in it properly, then you'll be good to go. A special note to bring up about G's relationship in the SS index is that G is something that the environment really likes, that social circles really like. So you're going to be getting a lot of reward for doing a lot of it, but it is your modulation powers, so it is something that's going to be a bit taxing. So you'll get rewards for doing it, but it's something that you're going to kind of have to take breaks from. Special quality of G is persuasive speech, that it's persuasive speech, and that it is an articulation power. It is a dynamics mover that is meant to move dynamics, actually move people, but it's values-based. So it's doing it through moving their emotional core, basically, their flex factor. And so it's also a power that has to do with shepherding as well in heroic ways. And so persuasive speech comes into being as that it's an articulator, that it's using things like intonation, inflection to move a person's emotional core. Another special note about G is that it gives you swagger. G gives you swagger points. And that when G is done well, when it's done correctly, then it gives the G user a confidence energy. It gives great confidence and like funky confidence and like really expressing yourself. And this is a power that it gives to you and it gives to those around you. So you can make the entire bubble a swaggery bubble and just give everyone swagger points in just an emanation burst. And you just have one big swagger party. Vi is your 4th ranked or polar power. Vi is a hunter power. So the Nyy'zai can hunt for facts, but it's going to be energetically expensive for them to do so. The polar character class for the Nyy'zai is that of a fact hunter. Vi is color-coded as gray, so usually things that have to do with Vi or Vi Mojo would have gray in the synonyma, which is why when you see the word Vi pop up when it does, it's going to be gray. But since Vi is your major modulation, then it's not going to be seen in the duotones that you see that have to do with Ni mojos, like yourself, for example. The energetic infusion that you get from Vi is a meticulousness of spirit. Vi gives all mojos power flows in general, but what should be understood is that these power flows will be unique for each mojo, and what determines their uniqueness is dependent upon what rank their Vi is in their energetic hierarchy, and what power their Vi has a compound relationship with. So in your case, as a Nyy'zai, when we talk about your Vi, it should be understood in the context that it is bipolar and that it has a compound relationship with your G. So the power flows that Vi gives are recall and call to remember, memories and experience, exact information and verifiable data, specificity and practicality, stability and security, consistency and reliability, maintaining and preserving, sense of tradition and historic roots, attention to detail and standards of excellence, solidity and certainty. When you do your Vi, then it also emanates from you an area of effect that bonuses the people around you, your adventuring party members, your cohorts. So other Vi users will get an augmentation bonus from this, but it's actually the Ni mojos that are going to be getting the most beneficial augmentation bonuses to it, because your kind of Vi is going to be the most relevant to their kind of Vi. And it is the Nai mojos whose V, their kind of V, is going to be most inspired by your kind of Vi. And out of all mojos, it is the Nyy'zai whose V is going to be the most inspired from your kind of Vi. Your polar Vi means major modulation Vi. And so that means it's going to be a major curbing of your native energy flow. And so this means there is going to be a special way that this needs to be approached. It needs to be approached wisely. So this means your Vi is going to be the farthest stretch in your conscious hierarchy. And this means a very specialized form of fetishing in order to really reach the right way, in order to have the correct kind of energetic backing from all of the powers that come above it. And so Vi is a great power to have, but you do have to use it wisely, correctly, and for the right reasons in order to avoid things like overmodulation and stress lock. What's important to understand about your Vi and its relationship to the SS index is that Vi, due to its low placement in the SS index, it's kind of considered the standard for most bubbles that you're going to be around, most social spheres. And so there's kind of an expectation for you to be able to do Vi a lot and on command. So what needs to be really understood is that this is your polar power. And so you're going to have this expectation pulled out of you, but you do need to fetish on it, approach it in a very special way as the Nyy'zai. A really cool way that the Nyy'zai use their Vi is in constructing collages of meaning, which basically means constructing collages that you will be using for cross-contextualizing, Nyi cross-contextualizing. So you can think of it as like creating a pool of all the patterns that you have found, which gives you a sense of greater meaning when you find more patterns in the wild and you kind of understand how to cross-contextualize them in all the ones that you've pooled together. Vi can also be used to make you elite as far as standards of excellence in a given thing that you want to excel at. So when your peak pathway recognizes something that it wants to fetish on, then your Vi can lock onto that. And once it does so, then there's no limit to what it can accomplish. When your powers combine, the question is how they can be used to make you, the Nyy'zai, your story as heroic and productive as possible. So whenever you line up your powers correctly, you will find that your powers, Nyy'zai, Ji, and Vi, will work at their maximum potential. They will work together and they'll give you everything you need to be the ultimate hero of your personal story. Okay, so now that you know a bit more about how your powers work, then you can begin to see them as like abilities on your character sheet in this RPG. One, powers that have certain amounts of energy that are required to do various things in life, kind of like needing magic points or energy points. Then the development of your character is taking these abilities to new levels to be able to pull off new maneuvers, as well as combine them in different ways that you did not know that you could, as well as combine them with different social alchemy groupings. Combine your powers with the powers and energies of other people to be able to pull off even cooler, more complex maneuvers. Okay, so now you've been given your entry into the greatest game, which is the HRL RPG, the heroic real-life role-playing game. And now you know what your character is. How does that feel? It feels pretty good, but you're not quite done yet. So now you gotta level up so you can be the best you can be and go on heroic adventures and save the world. So here's what we say about that. Know yourself, grow yourself, save the world. I'll see you next time.